Well, welcome. Today we are doing lesson 27, the law of exponents. Once again, this should be a review to you, but before we learn the actual rules, we are going to work on how to write out problems. When you have exponents, the number that's below the exponent is called the base. So this says x to the fifth, which means x times x times x times x times x. If we wrote x to the fifth out, we would put 5 x's times x to the third, which would be times 3 more x's. And if we count up our answer, we get x to the eighth. So really, when you are multiplying exponents, you are simply adding the number of exponents to get your final answer. So if you were working with powers of 10, this would say to write down 10 8 times, multiply it by 10 to the sixth, which is 10 written down 6 more times, and that would equal 10 to the 8 plus 6, or 10 to the 14th. This is a preview for scientific notation, why you wouldn't put down all of these zeros. This would be a 1 with 14 zeros after it. We're going to apply the same principle now to division. This says x to the fifth, so we are going to write 5 x's. And we are going to divide it by x times x times x. You have to remember that any number divided by itself equals 1. So these 2 x's cancel out and equal 1. These 2 x's cancel out and equal 1. And these 2 x's cancel out and equal 1. We just have 1 left in the denominator. We have 2 x's in the numerator, and x times x equals x squared, so that would equal x squared. So essentially in division, when you have the same base number, you can subtract exponents. So x to the fifth divided by x to the third is x to the 5 minus 3, or x squared. The bases have to be the same in order to do that. If you have different bases, it will not work. So if we come down here, we could write out 8 tens here, and we could write out 6 tens in the denominator, cancel them out, and we would end up with 10 to the 8 minus 6, or 10 squared. When we're working with exponents that are then powered, this says x cubed times x cubed, because it says take the value x cubed and square it. So it's x times x times x times x times x times x, which equals x to the sixth. So how did we get that? Well, if you write it out, we said 3 plus 3 is 6. But if you look right here, when you are powering a power, you actually multiply the exponents, which would just be a simpler step. So you can go x to the 3 times 2, or x to the sixth. If you are working with powers of 10, this says 10 squared times 10 squared times 10 squared. It says cube 10 squared. If we were using multiplication of exponents, we would say 10 to the 2 plus 2 plus 2, which equals 10 to the sixth. If you are doing powers of power, you can say 10 to the 2 times 3 equals 10 to the sixth. It's good to know both ways, and it's good to know exactly what these mean. We have to be able to write these algebraically, and that's what this page shows. a base value to the nth power times the same base power to the m power would equal the base a to the n plus m. When you are multiplying base numbers with exponents, you add the exponents. In division, a to the nth power divided by a to the m power would equal a to the n minus m power. And then when you are powering a power, a to the n taken to the m power would be a to the n times m. Now, if it says to simplify, you not only have to figure out what the new power is, you have to actually solve the problem. So if you had 2 to the 4th divided by 2 squared, you can write 2 to the 4 minus 2 using this formula of division of exponents, and that would equal 2 squared. But now you have to figure out what 2 squared is, and it's 4. If you have 10 to the 4th times 10 to the 3rd, you can write 10 to the 4 plus 3, which equals 10 to the 7th, which is a 1 with 7 zeros. Make sure you go back and put in your commas to be able to read your number. 10 to the 4th divided by 10 to the 3rd, according to our law of exponents, would be 10 to the 4 minus 3, which equals 10 to the 1st, which equals 10. So if it says simplify, you have to come up with a numeric answer. If you are doing a number that has a very high exponent to it, for instance, if you come up with 2 to the 12th or something like that, use your calculator to figure out the answer. Up to about 5 numbers you can multiply. Above that, go ahead and use the calculator. When you are doing your work today, you are going to be doing practice set A through H. A to H. And please remember that you should also go back and read the lessons and go through the examples that are on the lessons, especially if you're confused about something. So this is lesson 27, practice set A through H. Good luck. Make sure you take some notes and make sure you have questions for tomorrow.